The world's elite Special Forces military units undergo the most extreme physical and mental training regimens you could ever imagine. With units like the U.S. Navy SEAL Team and Great Britain's SBS specializing in high-risk operations involving counterterrorism, infiltration, hostage rescue, and reconnaissance, the prerequisite training is dangerous, exhausting, and nothing short of severe. Join the richest as we explore the unbelievable training programs of the world's top clandestine military units. The elite Special Forces unit of the U.S. military, known as the Navy SEALs, undergoes some seriously brutal training. After months of already intense drilling and exercises, SEAL recruits are put through 5 days of merciless training that they call Hell Week. Hell Week is so taxing that some recruits quit within the first few hours. Those that do stay must be fit enough in mind and body to endure what can only be described as a literal hell. During this training phase, SEAL candidates train for a solid 5 days and 5 nights and are allotted a total of only 4 to 5 hours of sleep during that entire time period. They spend this time performing intense exercise drills non-stop. Running, swimming, carrying boats, treading in freezing waters, crawling through sand, and more. When Hell Week is completed, the training is still far from over. The candidates are then put through incredible marine endurance tests in both indoor pools and in the open water. One of the skills obtained in this portion of the training is drown-proofing, or learning to float and submerge underwater while having the arms and legs bound. This also teaches the recruits to stave off panic and fear, which are more than likely to set in during the experience. This important part of the training is further reinforced in an exercise where trainers will surprise attack diving recruits and even remove breathing apparatuses without warning. According to military.com, only 6% of all applicants meet Navy SEAL requirements. Of those that make it into the training, only between 20 and 30% actually pass and are given the prestigious title of U.S. Navy SEAL. Over in Great Britain, the Royal Navy's SBS, or Special Boat Service, and the British Army's SAS, or Special Air Service, operate under joint command. Both of these Special Forces groups are assigned to highly classified assignments and missions rarely disclosed to the public. Both units share one of the toughest military initiation courses in the world. Designed to push the limits of mental and physical stamina, Great Britain's most elite soldiers spend a total of 31 grueling weeks in intense training sessions. The first 4, known as the aptitude phase, consists mostly of hours upon hours of hill climbing exercises, where recruits are required to carry a progressively increasing amount of weighted bricks in a backpack. They start with 40 pounds, about 18 kilograms of bricks, and work their way up to 60 pounds, 27 kilograms over the course of the month, with weapons, equipment, and provisions adding to the weight. Only the fittest of the fit of British soldiers are invited to this initial endurance test. Roughly only 10% make it to the next phase. The next 2 months find recruits training on-site in the jungles of South America, Asia, or Africa, where they undergo a series of tactical and operational tests. The suitability of a candidate is assessed by their reaction to and ability to cope with a series of situations when under intense physical and mental pressure in an unfamiliar climate. The final 3 months are wrought with survival and special skills training, including surveillance and reconnaissance training, Army combat survival, counter-terrorist tactics, and 4 weeks of parachute training. At the end of 7 grueling months, those still left standing have made the jump from ordinary highly trained soldier to an elite Special Forces warrior. In the Great White North, the best of Canada's military compete for a coveted membership in Joint Task Force 2, or JTF2. This Special Forces unit was created in the wake of the First Gulf War and serves as Canada's elite counterterrorism task force. The journey to becoming a member of JTF2 is far from easy. JTF2 training emphasizes not just physical strength and endurance, but also a candidate's personal traits, with special attention paid to maturity, confidence, integrity, mental toughness, team-oriented attitude, and an extraordinary sense of self-discipline. However, the operations of this elite special task force are kept so secret that little is known on the details of their training process. We do know that it starts with an intense physical fitness pre-screening test, and that the few who pass follow it with a 7-month-long, highly secret regimented training program. With their main goal being to thwart possible terrorist attacks, we can surmise that JTF2's tough, demanding, and very real training turns soldiers into highly valuable life-saving components against terrorism. Across the pond in Eurasia, Russia's military hosts several Special Forces units known as Spetsnaz. Within Spetsnaz is the most elite group, Alpha Force. Spetsnaz training is sometimes described as a combination of all the skills used by the U.S. Special Forces, Rangers, Delta Force, and in the case of Naval Spetsnaz, the Navy SEALs. We've already seen some of the intense practices of SEAL training, and Spetsnaz uses these and some other highly effective yet rather unorthodox methods. One drill carried out by Spetsnaz involves trainers firing live ammunition directly into the chests of recruits wearing body armor. This practice is meant to prepare recruits for the real possibility of taking fire. Though safety precautions may be in place on military training grounds, that doesn't mean instructors shy away from realistic scenarios. Military training must prepare soldiers for a host of life-threatening situations. Spetsnaz is also known for one other rather unorthodox practice of televising the Special Forces training competitions on state-run TV. When the Russian government introduced its policy of glasnost, or openness, in the late 80s, they began broadcasting the Special Forces training as a recruitment tool. Besides regular military training, Spetsnazovцы, as they are called, have the added primary responsibility of conducting intense surveillance, sabotage, diversion, and reconnaissance training. The majority of Spetsnazovцы must also qualify for the Master Sportsman Badge, a designation few in the regular army are able to achieve. This physical training includes running for speed and distance, endurance swimming, negotiating obstacle courses, and throwing entrenching tools and knives. Spetsnazovцы also must be able to rappel from buildings and cliffs, air assault out of helicopters, and parachute from fixed-wing and rotary-wing aircraft. The Taiwanese Marine Corps is known for one of the toughest and most brutal training exercises in the world. After 10 grueling weeks, the final stage of their training is an obstacle course known as the Road to Heaven. Wearing only a pair of shorts, the candidates must drag their bare-skinned bodies across 50 meters of jagged, porous, fist-sized coral rocks without the use of their hands. The path has 10 stopping points, and at each one, the recruits must stop and perform an exercise. If an instructor isn't satisfied with a recruit's form, or perhaps their level of misery, they're ordered to start again. And to make it even more comfortable, instructors will often pour salt water on a candidate's open wounds. It's all about determining which candidates have the highest threshold for pain. The Special Air Service Regiment, officially abbreviated SASR, is a special forces unit of the Australian Army. Born during World War II and modeled after the British SBS, this unit specializes in counterterrorism and peacekeeping. SASR recruits aren't volunteers, but rather hand-picked by their superiors from the regular Army, where they are then subjected to 3 back-breaking weeks of intense physical and mental examinations. Those that pass this initiation test are then split into small squad units and thrown into lifelike dangerous scenarios, often without supervision. The ideal candidates are those who work well in this environment rather than just as individuals. Successful candidates then continue on to the 21-day selection course, which assesses both the individual's physical and mental strength and endurance, as well as overall fitness, ability to remain calm in combat, and to work effectively in small teams. This small squadron training gives this Special Forces unit the ability to quietly slip in and out from behind enemy lines to gather intelligence. In 1990, the Polish government formed its counterterrorism unit, the Group for Operational Maneuvering Response, or GROM for short. When it comes to counterterrorism, Poland brings the thunder. And we mean that literally, as the word GROM also translates to thunder in Polish and other Slavic languages. Much of their training takes place high in the Polish Bieszczady Mountains. The first stage is a series of typical exercises such as swimming, sit-ups, and close combat simulation. Stage 2 involves a harsh climbing test, where recruits must climb a ladder onto an 82-foot, that's 25-meter tower and then jump off. Most candidates are said to quit after this test. Another well-known part of GROM training is the psychological durability test known as the truth test, a highly secret, physically and psychologically exhausting field test designed to filter out the weaker applicants. If you've been watching the Amazon series inspired by Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan novels, you've probably heard of KSK, or German Special Forces Command. The training process for combat positions in the KSK is divided into 2 phases. Phase 1 is a 3-week-long physical and psychological training regimen that generally results in a mere 40% pass rate. Phase 2 is a 3-month-long physical endurance phase with only an 8 to 10% pass rate. In this time, candidates must undergo a grueling 90-hour cross-country run, followed by a 3-week international combat survival course at the German-led multinational Special Operations Training Center in Pfullendorf. Upon successful completion of the selection process, candidates may be allowed to start their 2 to 3 year training cycle with the KSK. This training includes roughly 20 field courses at over 17 schools worldwide. In Norway for Arctic terrain, Austria for mountainous terrain, El Paso, Texas, or Israel for desert and bush training, San Diego for amphibious operations, and Belize for jungle experience. And trust us when we say that no one brave enough to tackle this training is complaining about the jet lag. Well, that concludes our video on some of the world's most insane military training. Are there any viewers out there who have been through these training courses? Let us know how you did in the comments. Be sure and like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.